Hey folks, it's Sam. And as you can see, I'm here with Casey Scott from Gold Star Astrology. We're going to be talking about the upcoming Jupiter in Taurus transit that's happening in May. We're going to be going over a bunch of dates as well. We're going to be talking about the concepts in general. And then we'll also be hitting some of these dates and some of these ideas, particularly for those who want to become one of the members. You'll get the detailed overview with all of these dates, but that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'll be here with Casey. Casey, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
You're certainly welcome. So folks, stick around and we'll see you on the other side. Please like the video. Clicking like helps a lot more than you know. It pushes the video higher in relevant video searches. Also, please leave a nice comment. Comments also help more than you know as it raises the video in searches. Many times with hundreds of likes, there are only a dozen comments and they can be disproportionately negative. So be positive. Let me know if you like this. Even just a few words really helps. So subscribe, ring the bell to get notified of upcoming videos. Indeed. So we're here, Casey, ready to do this Jupiter in Taurus. What do you think about this? As you see, I have this web class, and the thing I put here, don't be blindsided or get stuck in desires. Now is the time to channel your worldly happiness into peace and contentment. This is an overview. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I did your webinar when you put it out there, and it was a really good and informative article or a video, and described it for all 12 signs, and it was really fun to go through that. And I wrote my own article as well on my newsletter, and that it's a fun process to really go through the not just evaluating the planet in the sign, but how that affects all the 12 signs. It's really a good practice, and I like doing it.
Yeah, and you know, Casey also has newsletter and stuff. So again, we'll have his link down there so you can sign up for it. It's actually good. And I got it as well, by the way. That's why I decided to invite you on here, because I'm on your newsletter list and I'm like, okay, come on here and talk about it. Casey's one of the few astrologers who does this kind of research like I do. And it's very important to do it. Again, he put together all these lists. I had to go in and this is his list. I had to say, he went back actually even further, and I'm like, let's just go back to 1989. People don't remember anything more than that. So we have these a lot of these events, they really show the nature of Jupiter and Taurus in the world. Of course, there's emphasis on things like even like entertainment and technology. For example, a lot of the resurgence of Apple that happened in the early 2000s happened when Jupiter went into Taurus, like right after, for example. OS, the current Mac operating system, but there's other things too. Like as I said here on this blurb, don't be blindsided or get stuck in desires. Now this is on a personal level, but on a collective level, we have this too. It says now's the time to channel your worldly happiness into peace and contentment. But again, you see Jupiter is also moving from Aries into Taurus. Aries, where we're fired up around our principles and this is what's right. And we might even be ready to go to war and go to battle over those philosophies, right? Then Jupiter moves into Taurus, and often you'll see there's attempts at peace and things like that. There's some of that indicated for sure, but it's also where we can get kind of stuck and entrenched in our vision of, but this is what I want. This is what I think is right. And we can get kind of stuck in that. So that's another part of just the general transit. When Jupiter is in Taurus, like in someone's natal chart, or of course, as it's going through the sky from the fiery sign of Aries to earthy Taurus. What do you have to say to that, Casey?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying is, Jupiter is that planet of, our beliefs and our teachings and children and all that. And, in Aries, Aries is Mars's sign, and Mars and Jupiter have a more friendly relationship with each other. So it is fired up, but it's more of that kind of spontaneous, innocent playfulness. But Jupiter and Venus's signs, they have a more difficult relationship. There's this kind of contrast between principle and desire, right? And so Taurus has that kind of, it wants that tradition and things to be steady, and it's more interested in like the aesthetic and the appearance and the, you know, you see it a lot in spiritual communities that they want to appear as if they're really immersed in the Indian teachings. They don't want to actually let it saturate them, right? And so that's, you know, one of the things that I thought about from your interpretation of it is like, yeah, the difference between Jupiter and Mars's sign and Jupiter and Venus's sign really kind of brings out the contrast between those two energies.
Indeed. And so Jupiter, as it's in Aries, as it's been, again, Aries is where it's ruled by Mars. And again, Jupiter there is where we're getting clear about our principles, willing to fight for them. But the first real act of fighting for your principles and of being, of putting your principles into action, that's really what Jupiter, what guru is meant to be. It's Jupiter, the Sanskrit word is guru, which means teacher, teaching, and we're meant to put those teachings into practice. Practice is Mars. Practice is I'm willing to work hard and sacrifice for what I know is right. I'm willing to do those things that are hard for what I know is right. What I know is right is actually Jupiter. Jupiter is the one that decides, that brings the judgment, that judges this piece of information, Mercury, is leading to a righteous cause. That's Jupiter. So now do we just have it be a philosophy in our head where we convince ourselves, oh yeah, I believe in this thing, so now I've actually really done something? This is the bypassing that can happen with Jupiter. Well, I believe it, I believe it, I believe it. Great, that's the first step. You now believe something that's maybe true, and let's say it is. Let's say that it's, again, like Vedic teaching, Vedic wisdom, where you've actually gathered information which comes from Mercury, and you've actually used your curiosity to question your own beliefs. You've questioned those things, and now you've found some teachings and some information, some videos from Sam. No, you found some ideas that you now say, yes, these ideas are better, and I believe in these ideas now. Believe in Jupiter, these ideas, Mercury. So now I've done some big thing. Well, you haven't really done a big thing yet. You've just changed your beliefs. Now you believe in something that is more elevated, but you have to do something about it. You have to put those beliefs into practice if they're going to really benefit your life. And that's what the Mars is. That's why Jupiter and Aries will actually do something about it. Now, again, it can also be destructive because we might say, I believe this thing that says I'm right and you're wrong, so now I'm going to fight you. That's really not an elevated usage of I believe you're the problem. That's not really very elevated. It's I believe I'm the problem. I believe that the things that, or I understand that the things I believe are not moving me forward. So that's Jupiter and Aries. So we're willing to destroy our own ignorance, right? So it can be quite positive for a yogi, as Casey said. If we're really willing to do that work, Jupiter and Aries to be very transformational. It goes into Taurus. Now, the power of that, though, is we can bring those teachings and those hard-fought battles that we've won on the spiritual level and bring them into Taurus, which is like our daily life and routines. And rather than being the fiery individualistic yogi, let's say, who has pushed everything away, we can bring it into our life more in a spirit of sharing and connection and our daily habits and routines and joys and things like that, which is what Taurus is. So that's really the empowering part of it, because we don't have to, torch everything or everyone in our life in order to be spiritual. We're trying to connect those things. Like Casey's a family man. He's got kids and all of that. This is all the Taurus stuff. So someone like you, Casey, it's really, you'll see that maybe a shift of emphasis a little bit from where maybe Jupiter going through Aries has been more individualistic, where you're like really maybe even frustrated that you can't get as much of your teachings you can't do them as much as an individual. Now feeling more relaxed, being able to share them more, let's say in a family environment or even things like that. Those types of, that's a kind of benefit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely the benefit, the positive part of it, right? Because you want to be able to see it on both sides. Is that Jupiter in Aries is like really inspired, and it really spontaneously will do positive things, but that Taurus energy really helps you have it like entrenched in your life, right? Like to not just do yoga when you're feeling good about it, but to do yoga every day as a practice, and it becomes sadhana, right? So that's you know, one of the things you could really look at for Jupiter and Taurus is that ability to take those teachings and rather than just, you know, doing astrology from time to time when you're feeling good about it. It's like you're looking at it every day. You know, you've got the member site now, so you could be really plugged into that the week ahead, and really be participating on the daily and journaling and watching how it happens as a practice, as a routine. And that's really the power of making that happen.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Beneath this video, you see there's a join button and a subscribe button. Of course, subscribe to the channel, but when you click join, you're going to get access to the fastest growing Vedic astrology community on YouTube. You can see daily forecasts, weekly forecasts, and a lot of special videos that the members get. Again, it's very easy. All you do is you click join beneath the video. Most people get the Oracle 5D avatar level. It's less than $1 a day. You can stay connected. Tons of free videos that you get now, but also each week. Again, you can see all of the videos that you get where I do a Vedic forecast, a regular forecast, members only content. But again, it's very easy. Just click join.
Because again, and it's because Taurus is where we want to enjoy things. So there's nothing wrong with enjoying your spirituality. In fact, it's called devotion and bhakti. It's really, in fact, more important than the fired up part. It's more important because unless something becomes a practice that you enjoy, then you won't do it.
Yeah.
You simply won't do it. You have to love it, enjoy it, find something that you enjoy. This is why the Vedic teachings, the Vedic practices are so easy to approach eventually, because there's so much the sadhana is very enjoyable. Getting together and singing, like group singing and chanting divine names of sacred vibrations, or all of the beauty, right? Like all the beauty of the symbols. It's so dramatic. I mean, you look at the deities, they're so beautiful to look at. And we're trying to enjoy life. We need to enjoy life through the body. We're living in the body and the senses. And we're not meant to be suffering. We're meant to be celebrating. Life is meant to be a joyful celebration of the senses, the world. The world wasn't made to be this horrible place. It's a beautiful place. You see Casey's got flowers behind him. You see he seems to have more. I got books, and I have a keyboard here now. I actually set up my keyboard here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I did have my music stuff over on the other side of the room, and I'd have to get up and go and sort of turn on a new computer and play it. I have it all now. It's all MIDI'd and plugged in. I have a little station over here. I have a few guitars pick up, and I'm actually playing while I'm working, which it's a kind of a good mixture, but it's also I'm a few seconds away from being able to sort of play music and write music at any minute now. So I like it.
I can't wait until you rip a solo in the middle of your astrology video. That'd be cool,
I've been resisting I don't want to be like the singing astrologer, but I've thought of putting some stuff out there. I have some music that I might be putting out.
There you go.
Yeah. But again, enjoying life, we're meant to do it, and we wind up eventually doing what we enjoy. this is why we need to bring those things together, because as much as we're all spiritual, we're also emotional, and we wind up doing what we feel like doing. So we have to eventually feel like doing something that's spiritual. If it's just a chore, then it doesn't work. And so what winds up happening, even back to the original idea of Jupiter, is we wind up enjoying our philosophy, because Jupiter is where we feel inspired. So we're inspired by our philosophies and how good they make us feel, even though we're not doing anything. So we bringing it together of, we can enjoy the philosophies, but then find ways to enjoy them in a spiritual, grounded way, in a grounded, practical way. That's what Jupiter and Taurus, the real promise that it brings. So again, you can see there's the link below the video, the jupiterwebinar.com. That's where this is. And you can just register there. You just you can either watch an instant replay or set up a time to watch it, so that you can, so that you can set aside a good amount of time to do that. Casey, what would you like to say about this?
Yeah, one of the things that I, try to create a picture in my mind of, Taurus, like Jupiter is like the teacher and he's going into this environment. And Taurus is, I always think of like grandma's house, right? And grandma's making a soup, right? And when grandma's making soup, she's cutting up all the ingredients, and then you put the ingredients in the pot, and you don't eat the soup right then, right? So you have to give it some time to really collect and marinate and turn into this fantastic recipe, right? And so that's just something to give yourself a visual for how that Jupiter and Taurus is like, because that Aries is like, here, I took a class, next class, and this Taurus is just like, you can do something and just like let that teaching soak in and settle in and give it a chance to really saturate into your awareness, rather than just read a book and off to the next book, read a book, off to the next book. It's like you really give that teaching a chance.
And slow down. And I'm looking for a picture I had here where is it here in my, I thought I put it up there, me with cows. Well, yeah, because cows, man, there it is. Here it is. This was me.
There you go.
In the Amma's ashram with the cows years ago.
Yeah.
My new seva feeding cows. January 20th, 2012. So that was, Jupiter was in Aries at that time. It hadn't gone into Taurus yet, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I think he said that cow was mean too, right? It was like,
this is the one that would,
yeah,
I remember her name. Her name was Vaishnavi. And you have to put the food down, and she's trying to stick that horn right in your ribs. She's trying to let you have it. just because. And no other cow was like that. The rest of them were very friendly, but she wasn't. She took pride in, like, one day she was going to, stick a horn right through someone's ribs, and that was going to be the end of it. And so
Amma knew how to put some danger in your seva. Indeed.
Yeah. So she was a quite a tough cow. But so we're going to be going over these going over some of these dates here in a bit. But again, just when we come back to this, to understand that this cow and this sign of Taurus, what they do is they'll chew and chew and chew. And once you gave them, she was grouchy before you gave her the food. Cows you got to watch them when they're hungry and when they're uncomfortable, like when they're not next to the cow they want to be next to, or when you're moving them, or when there's something that's disruptive to them. So when they're hungry, when there's something that's not in their routine. But even with her, even once after she got the food, she still didn't want anyone to come up to her, but she wasn't aggressive anymore. She would sit down like the rest of them and just chew and chew. They just want to have, sometimes they just want to have something to chew. They'll sit there and just keep chewing and keep chewing and keep chewing. You give them food, but then you just give them some hay so they could sit there and chew. And regurgitate and chew and sit down and chew, and then like just kind of sit there and
Reminds
take
me
it
of
all
my
in.
kids.
What?
Reminds me of my kids when they're grumpy. You just need to give them some snacks, right?
Yeah, and because they want to, it's that. But what that really evokes is the yoga quality of santosha, which is contentment, peace, and being in the present moment, in the moment with the senses. Because again, think of all the things that we're trying to do in meditation. It's very Taurus like. The body is meant to be still, and you're peaceful, and you're content in the moment. You don't have this longing, this desire, this longing for the next thing, the next whatever it is. You're here and now. And that's very much the promise of Jupiter in Taurus, is to take those teachings and that guru's wisdom. And again, especially it's called guru. Guru is actually the teachings that you love, the teachers that you love. Without love, there's no real teaching. It's just intellect. This is why Jupiter's exalted in Cancer, where our highest teachings have to go into the heart and become devotional. Bhakti. Bhakti is really, everything has to go through the heart. Otherwise, it's not going to be meaningful, because everything goes through your heart anyway, whether you know it or not. Stop thinking you're intelligent and intellectual. You're not. You're emotional. So am I. As intellectual as I am, I'm emotional. I do what I feel like doing. I do what makes me happy, like the rest of us. And so if spirituality makes you happy, which it should, then you'll do it. You'll enjoy it. You'll love it. It'll be something beautiful as Jupiter goes through Taurus. That can be the case. Like I did meditation for 20, 30 years, but I didn't really love it until I found my guru. Then it became a beautiful, loving, devotional thing that I loved. I loved the experience once I would get there, but getting there was like, oh, this is hard. It's the meditation part that's the tough part. The experience, once you're able to do it, makes it worth it. But when the meditation itself is beautiful and joyous and devotional and heart-centered, then you'll do it. Does that make sense, Casey?
Yeah, I think that follow the joy. That's a good thing to kind of use as your compass. Just make sure those joyful things are, elevated, right? They have to have that Jupiter quality to them, where they're a higher teaching, a higher thing that's kind of inclusive and brings you out of the things that are so personal and into the things that are more universal.
That's why I just said less about desires. It's a time to overcome laziness, greed, worldly accumulation, and elevate it into more devotion and stable teachings and practices.
Yep, perfect.
So just an overview of this. Why don't you give us sort of an overview of this, and then we'll do a deeper dive later.
So, we go back to the previous times that Jupiter goes through Taurus, just to kind of give us an idea of, what it was like last time, right? Because that's an important practice that you taught me and I've carried through. And it helps you kind of connect to some of those qualities that you're doing astrology, but you're also connecting it to real life lived experiences. And, 2012, 2013, that was a time when there was a lot of interest. Hurricane Sandy's a big one there that had to do with, and it was a natural disaster. And if you think about what Taurus is on a global event, it's about the environment, and it's about resources and just more of the energy, right? It's about like natural resources and energy. And think about Hurricane Sandy. It knocked out, the dam collapsed and it knocked out power. And there was all these, a big natural disaster. And so other things that we had going on there were, I
I find this one interesting here.
Stem cells, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of these, the human body, right? And the amazing things that it's capable of. And Jupiter in Taurus kind of brings that higher teachings to the organic level, right? And so some great things happened. The Human Genome Project was one of the ones that we saw back in, I can't remember if it was the 2001. I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was 2000.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. And so that's another one where we really cracked the DNA code and think about all the things that we've learned about ourselves as humans since then. And, like I said, there's that entertainment factor too, because, Taurus is that Venus's environment, it likes things that are, pop culture and all those kinds of things. And, I was thinking about like 2000, 2001 when Harry Potter came out, and think about like those cult classics that came from these times. And like you said, Apple iTunes launched, and just entertainment, right?
And that whole segment of what is very common now started back then. The resurgence of Apple happened back then. You see how ubiquitous they are now.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over that in more detail in the next video. It'll be at the member level. And by the way, again, if you want to register, here, when you click below the video, you see there's a link that says to these are the member levels. I haven't even decided which one to put this at. I think I'm going to put this at the Pleiadian level. I'll tell you what, Casey, he talked me into being a nice guy. I'll put that just at the Investigator Unicorn level.
There you go. Yeah.
So the longer video will be there because we're going to go over the dates there in greater detail. Again, I go over that in the web class as well in this webinar. But again, because we don't want the video to be really long. What happens when it's released on YouTube and it's like an hour-long video? The viewership goes down. But so it's really worth it. There's also a lot of other stuff that you get. You get the 2024 hour-long forecast, the Rahu, Ketu in Pisces and Virgo axis full report that I did. Those full-length webinars. Also, you get the astrology week ahead that is always done. And again, you can see here, this is what happens when you click the register now. These are the videos currently, the recent full moon in Libra at the examiner level. But then these here, this week ahead, this is done for all members also at the $4.99 level. But again, you can also get the Pleiadian level where I do the Vedic week ahead, where I go through every day using the Vedic Panchanga. There's also deeper case studies at the Oracle 5D level for serious students. So frankly, most people do get the Oracle 5D star level. That's the most popular level. Like
that's the one I have. Yeah,
it's good. You stay up to date, especially with the Vedic week ahead is a real good feature, and also the in-depth case studies. Like I went back and did a more in-depth case study on the charts of Biden and Trump, but also I'm going to be doing another one on this Key Bridge eclipse case study, and I have a few other, especially personality profiles. RFK, I'm going to do one on RFK because people have been asking for that. So again, I make it very affordable. But aside from that, look for the next, look for the in-depth, detailed video at the first level, at the $4.99 level. If you want to go ahead and register for that, you can go ahead and do that. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel.